As she walked back toward Beth's house, Zendra considered her options. She needed to repair her ship or at minimum send a distress signal strong enough to reach any Zolaxian vessels that might pass through this solar system. The research facility contained useful components, but taking them without permission violated both her mission protocols and her personal ethics. Perhaps she could offer something in exchange. Knowledge or assistance within the boundaries of non-interference protocols. Her species believed in fair exchange, not exploitation. Zendra was so deep in thought she almost missed the commotion ahead. A small crowd had gathered around two damaged vehicles in the center of the road. Humans were shouting and a small child was crying, approaching cautiously. Zendra observed what appeared to be an accident. The primitive combustion vehicles had collided, causing structural damage. One human, a male, was shouting at another female while pointing at the damaged metal. A third human was attending to a child who appeared to be in distress. Zendra's translator processed the exchange. "This is your fault." The male human said, "You were texting." "I saw you." "I was not," the female responded. "The light was green for me." A third human approached, wearing a uniform with insignia that Zendra's database identified as local security enforcement. A peacekeeper or law officer. "All right, everyone, calm down," the officer said. "We're going to sort this out. Step back, please." He instructed the gathering crowd. Zendra was about to continue walking when she noticed something concerning fluid was leaking from one of the damaged vehicles, creating a puddle beneath it. Her scanner indicated it was highly combustible fuel, and nearby, an electrical component was sparking. Without thinking, Zendra stepped forward. "Excuse me," she called, "there is danger." The officer turned. "What?" "The vehicle," she pointed, "the fuel leak and electrical discharge will cause ignition." The officer looked confused for a moment, then his eyes widened as he noticed what she was indicating. "Everyone back now," he shouted. "Move away from the vehicles." He quickly pulled the arguing humans away from the cars. Moments later, there was a flash as the leaking fuel ignited. A small explosion followed, sending flames across both vehicles. The crowd gasped and moved further back as the officer called for emergency services in the confusion. No one seemed to question how Zendra had identified the danger before it was visible to human eyes. Except one person, a woman, who had been standing nearby observing the scene with unusual focus as emergency vehicles arrived with loud sirens and flashing lights. Zendra tried to slip away, but the woman intercepted her. That was impressive. The woman said, "How did you know that was going to happen?" Zendra maintained her calm exterior. "I observed the leaking fluid and electrical malfunction," she said. It was a logical conclusion. The woman studied her face with analytical intensity. "Clara Ward," she said, extending her hand. "County science teacher." And that was more than just a logical conclusion. You knew exactly what was happening before anyone else noticed. Zendra returned the handshake, carefully calculating her response. "I have some experience with mechanical systems," she said. It was nothing unusual. Clara did not seem convinced those were observation skills I rarely see in anyone but the best engineers. She said, "Where are you from?" "What's your name?" "Zendra. I am visiting from a distant community." Clara nodded as if confirming something to herself. "Well, Zendra, from a distant community, would you like to get coffee? I have a feeling we might have some interesting things to discuss." Zendra hesitated. This human was observant, perhaps dangerously so, but she also represented a potential resource. Someone with scientific knowledge who might unknowingly help with the communication problem. "Thank you," she replied. "I would appreciate that." Clara led her to a small establishment similar to the diner where she had met Beth, but with a different atmosphere. Softer lighting, fewer people. The sign read River Cafe. They sat at a small table and a server brought them hot beverages. So Clara said after the server departed, "What brings you to Riverdale?" "Not exactly a tourist destination. I'm conducting research," Zendra replied, choosing her words carefully. "My transportation experienced a malfunction. I am temporarily stranded." Clara smiled. "That old story." She took a sip of her coffee. "Interesting coincidence. I study unusual phenomena, specifically unexplained atmospheric events and their effects on local environments. She reached into a bag and removed a small device, similar to a tablet, but with additional sensors attached, like the one that occurred last night. She continued, turning the device toward Zendra. The screen showed a graph with a pronounced spike. My equipment registered an unusual energy pattern around 11 p.m., localized about 3 miles outside of town. She looked directly at Zendra. In the north cornfields. Zendra felt a moment of alarm. This human had detected her ship's landing. Had others as well? Were they already searching for her? Your expression confirms my theory, Clara said. But don't worry, I haven't shared this with anyone. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. I've been tracking these energy signatures for years. This isn't the first. But it's the first time I've had the opportunity to meet someone connected to one. Zendra maintained her composed exterior. What do you believe I am connected to? Clara leaned back, studying her. You tell me. Maybe you're from a government research program, testing experimental aircraft. Maybe you're something else entirely. I'm simply interested in the truth. Zendra considered her options. This human was perceptive and had already gathered data about the landing. Denying everything would only increase suspicion. A partial truth might be the best approach. I am a researcher, she said. That much is true. My vessel experienced a malfunction forcing an emergency landing. I need specific components to repair the communication system. Clara nodded slowly. So you're stranded and trying to call home? She didn't seem surprised by this confirmation. Are others looking for you? Government agencies? Military? No, Zendra said. My presence here is not officially sanctioned. It was meant to be observational only. No contact. Clara smiled. That explains the low-profile approach. She tapped her fingers on the table thoughtfully. I might be able to help you. This was unexpected. Zendra had anticipated many reactions to a partial revelation of her situation, but not an immediate offer of assistance. Why would you help me? Clara shrugged. I've spent 20 years studying unusual phenomena. Everyone thought I was crazy when I installed my monitoring. Equipment claimed I was wasting my time chasing conspiracy theories. She took another sip of her coffee. Now I have proof sitting across from me drinking a latte. That's worth something. And what do you want in exchange? Zendra asked. Information. Clara replied. Not about your technology or anything sensitive, just confirmation. I'm not crazy. That there are things beyond our current understanding. Visiting. Observing us. She smiled, and maybe a peek at your vessel. Nothing intrusive, just visual confirmation, Zendra considered the proposal. It violated protocols, but she was already operating outside normal parameters due to the emergency landing, and she needed help. Specifically, with communications technology. This human might provide that without requiring full disclosure of Zendra's origins. I cannot reveal everything she said, but I can confirm your observations are accurate. And if you can assist with communication components, I can show you my vessel externally. Only, Clara extended her hand. We have a deal. They finished their beverages and left the cafe. Clara leading the way to a small vehicle parked nearby my car. She said, unlocking the doors. We'll need transportation for what I have in mind. Zendra entered the vehicle with some apprehension. The human seemed trustworthy, but this was a significant risk. Where are we going? Clara started the engine. My workshop first to gather some equipment, then to see if we can boost your signal. The drive took them to the edge of town, a small house similar to Beth's but with an additional structure behind it. Clara parked and led Zendra to the rear building. My sanctuary, she said, unlocking the door. Inside was a space filled with electronic equipment, computers, monitors, and various devices. Zendra didn't recognize some appeared to be modified versions of standard Earth technology. Others were unique designs. Clara noticed her assessing the equipment. I modify things, she explained. Most commercial technology is deliberately limited to meet specific consumer needs. I adjust them to serve my research. Zendra examined a device that appeared to be a signal analyzer. but with additional components that extended its capabilities beyond standard Earth specifications. This human was like Lisa at the research facility. Pushing beyond the limitations of available technology, Clara moved to a workbench. "What kind of communication system are you trying to repair?" she asked. "Frequency range. Power requirements." Zendra hesitated, then decided to provide technical specifications that would be comprehensible to humans yet sufficient for her needs. "I need to transmit a narrow band signal capable of reaching low orbit," she said. "The power requirement is significant beyond standard Earth battery capacity." Clara nodded thoughtfully. "Low orbit transmission. That's ambitious but not impossible." She began gathering components from various shelves and storage containers. "I've been experimenting with directed energy transmission for my research, focusing the signal to maximize range while minimizing power requirements." As Clara worked, Zendra observed her with growing interest. This human like Lisa was developing technology that approached interstellar capabilities without any guidance from advanced civilizations. The Galactic Council's assessment of human technological development was clearly outdated. Clara connected several components, creating a crude but potentially effective signal amplifier. "It's not pretty, but it might work," she said. "What frequency range do you need?" Zendra provided specifications that would be compatible with her emergency beacon. Clara adjusted accordingly. "There," she said finally. "This should boost your signal strength by a factor of 10. Maybe more with the right power source." She looked up at Zendra. So now about that vessel. Zendra had anticipated this moment. The exchange had been agreed upon. She would need to show Clara her ship. But first she needed to test the communication device. "We should test this first," she said. "If it functions as needed, I will fulfill my part of our agreement." Clara agreed. They connected a power source to the amplifier, and Zendra carefully integrated it with her emergency beacon, using tools from Clara's workshop. The technology was primitive compared to Zolaxian standards, but the principles were sound. The human had created a functional signal booster with limited resources. Zendra activated the combined device and monitored the output. The signal strength was indeed significantly enhanced, perhaps enough to reach a passing Zolaxian vessel if one came within range of this solar system. It would not reach her homeworld, but it might alert any scientific expedition ships that periodically surveyed this sector. "It functions," she confirmed. Clara smiled, looking pleased. "I thought it might." "Now about our agreement." Zendra nodded. "We'll show you the vessel, but we must be cautious. There cannot be witnesses." "Of course," Clara said. "I understand discretion." She gathered a few items, including recording devices and what appeared to be a primitive scanner. "Tonight after dark, we'll take my car." As they finalized their plans, Zendra realized she had failed to return to Beth's house. She had the key, but Beth would be concerned when she returned from work and found Zendra missing. "I need to inform someone of my whereabouts," she said. "I am staying with a local resident." She would be concerned. Clara looked surprised but nodded. "Use my phone," she offered. Zendra recalled Beth's work location and called the diner. A brief conversation assured Beth that she was safe and would return later. Beth seemed relieved and not overly suspicious, accepting Zendra's explanation that she had met someone who might help with her vehicle repairs. As they waited for darkness, Clara showed Zendra more of her research. Years of atmospheric data, unusual energy readings, and modifications to standard technology. The human was remarkably advanced in her understanding, often approaching concepts that were common knowledge on Zolaxian worlds. "How did you become interested in these phenomena?" Zendra asked. Clara smiled. "When I was a child, I saw something in the sky that didn't match any known aircraft or natural phenomenon. My parents said it was my imagination. My teachers said I was confused, but I knew what I saw." She gestured to her equipment. "So I studied. Science, became a teacher, and spent my free time looking for evidence." Her dedication was impressive, particularly given the limited support and resources. "I understand the desire for knowledge," Zendra said. "It is a worthy pursuit." Clara looked at her, thoughtfully. "Where are you really from, Zendra? And don't say a distant community." Sandra maintained her practiced neutral expression. Very distant, she said. More than you can imagine. Here's part 4. Title Part 4 Night fell over Riverdale, casting long shadows across the countryside. Clara drove her vehicle along the rural road with Zendra beside her. The headlights carved a path through the darkness, illuminating the empty road ahead. Neither spoke much, both aware of the significance of their journey. Zendra directed Clara to turn onto a narrow dirt path leading into the cornfields. The vehicle bumped along the uneven ground until Zendra indicated they should stop. "This is close enough," she said. "We must continue on foot." Clara parked and grabbed her bag containing recording equipment and portable lights. Zendra carried the modified communication device they had built together. The night air was cool and filled with the sounds of earth insects, something Zendra found both alien and strangely peaceful. They walked in silence for nearly 10 minutes, the corn stalks brushing against them as they moved deeper into the field. Finally, they reached a small clearing where Zendra's ship rested, its sleek form still partially visible despite the cloaking shield malfunction. The vessel's smooth metallic surface reflected the moonlight, giving it an ethereal appearance. Clara stopped abruptly, her breath catching. "Oh my God," she whispered. "It's real, it's actually real." Zendra observed the human's reaction with interest. Clara had claimed to believe in the existence of extraterrestrial visitors, but seeing actual proof appeared to affect her deeply. "The vessel is damaged," Zendra explained, pointing to a section of the hull where the quantum drive was housed. "The propulsion and navigation systems are inoperable." Clara approached slowly, her movements cautious, but her expression filled with wonder. She circled the ship, which was approximately 20 feet in diameter and oval in shape with no visible external engines or control surfaces. "How does it fly?" she asked. "There are no wings? No propellers?" "The principles are difficult to explain in Earth terminology," Zendra said. "It does not push against your atmosphere, it manipulates the fabric of space." Clara ran her hand along the smooth hull, the material feeling warm despite the cool night air. "Amazing," she murmured. "May I record this?" she asked, holding up a small device. Zendra hesitated, then nodded. "You may document the exterior only." Clara activated her recording equipment, capturing images and scanning the vessel with various devices. She moved methodically around the ship, occasionally murmuring to herself or asking Zendra questions. About specific features, Zendra provided limited answers, careful not to reveal technology that would violate non-interference protocols. After completing her documentation, Clara stood back looking at the ship with an expression of profound satisfaction. 20 years, she said. 20 years of watching the skies, installing monitoring equipment, being called crazy by colleagues and friends. She looked at Zendra, and now vindication. Zendra activated the ship's external access panel. A section of the hull slid open, revealing the entry chamber. "I need to install our communication device," she said. "You may observe, but please do not touch anything inside." Clara nodded, clearly overwhelmed by the opportunity. "Just seeing is enough," she assured Zendra. They entered the ship, the interior lighting automatically activating as Zendra stepped inside. Clara gasped as she saw the control systems. The smooth, organic-looking interfaces bore little resemblance to Earth technology. There were no buttons or switches, just flowing surfaces that responded to touch and thought. "It's beautiful," Clara whispered. "Is it all one piece?" "The systems are integrated," Zendra explained, moving to the communication array. "It is designed for efficiency and intuitive operation." She began connecting their makeshift amplifier to the ship's beacon system. The human components looked crude next to the advanced Zolaxian technology, but the principles were compatible as Zendra worked. Clara observed respectfully, staying where indicated and not touching anything. But her eyes missed nothing, taking in every detail of the alien craft. "How many of you have visited Earth?" she asked finally. Zendra considered how to answer. "I cannot speak to all visitations," she said carefully. "My mission was observational only. No contact was intended." Clara nodded thoughtfully, watching as Zendra finished connecting the amplifier to the ship's systems. "So this," she gestured around them. This was an accident. Yes, Zendra confirmed, a malfunction. The ship will require extensive repairs beyond what can be accomplished with Earth technology. I need to contact my people. Clara seemed to process this information. How long have you been watching us? Many of your years, Zendra said. We monitor developing civilizations. The Galactic Council has protocols. Clara raised an eyebrow. The Galactic Council. So there's an interstellar governing body. Zendra realized she had revealed more than intended, but there seemed little point in denial. Now yes. Various spacefaring species coordinate their activities and establish guidelines for interaction with developing worlds. And Earth is classified as developing, yes. Zendra said, Category 3, technologically advancing, but not yet unified or capable of faster-than-light travel. Clara smiled at this, a bit condescending. Don't you think? Zendra looked up from her work. It is not a judgment of value, merely a classification based on specific technological and social parameters. And who decides these parameters? The Galactic Council establishes the guidelines based on millennia of observation. Zendra explained, it is for mutual protection. Contact before a species is ready can be devastating. Clara considered this. Keeping the primitive humans in the dark for their own good. It is more complex than that. Zendra said, the integration of a new species into the galactic community requires careful preparation. The impact of advanced technology on unprepared civilizations has proven catastrophic in the past. The amplifier was now fully connected. Zendra activated the emergency beacon. The ship systems powered up, creating a soft humming sound as energy flowed through the modified array. A holographic display appeared showing the signal strength and range. The human components were functioning better than expected, doubling the range of the beacon. It is working, Zendra said. The signal will now reach ships passing through your solar system. It may take time, but eventually my people will detect it. Clara watched the display with fascination. So now we wait, she said. Yes, Zendra confirmed. It could be days or weeks depending on ship movements, but the signal is strong enough to be detected. They exited the ship, Zendra securing it behind them. The night had grown cooler and clouds now obscured the moon as they walked back toward Clara's vehicle. Zendra sensed the human had more questions. Why Earth? Clara finally asked. Of all the planets, why study us? Zendra considered her answer. Your species is unique in many ways, she said. The rate of technological development alone is remarkable. Most species take twice as long to advance from primitive tools to space exploration, and your adaptability is unusual. Clara looked thoughtful as they reached her vehicle. Is that why you crashed here? Because we're interesting, Zendra shook her head. No. The malfunction was unrelated to Earth specifically. But she paused. My experiences since landing have been informative. The humans I have encountered, you Beth Lisa at the research facility, have shown innovation and kindness that exceeds our expectations. They drove back toward town in companionable silence, each processing the events of the night. Finally, Clara spoke. So what happens now? You wait for rescue, and then what? Memory wipe. Take samples. Back to observing from a distance. The question was complex, and Zendra was not certain of the answer herself. Protocol dictates minimal impact. She said, my encounter with humans would be documented. My observations added to the database on Earth civilization and use. Clara asked those of us who helped you. Those who know you exist. Zendra had been considering this issue since meeting Beth. The proper protocol would be to erase all evidence of her presence, including memories. But her experiences with these humans had challenged her understanding of Earth civilization. I do not know, she admitted honestly. The protocols are clear, but the situation is unprecedented. Clara parked outside her workshop. Will you tell them? She asked. About us. About how we helped you. About how we might be more ready for contact than your council believes. The question was significant. Zendra's report could potentially influence the Galactic Council's timeline for Earth contact. The standard procedure was centuries of additional observation before consideration for first contact. But what she had seen here suggested humans might advance more quickly than anticipated. I will report what I have observed, she said. The innovation I have seen, the cooperation, the kindness. These are significant factors. They entered Clara's workshop to gather Zendra's remaining items. As Clara helped pack the tools they had used, she seemed to be considering something carefully. Before you go, whenever that happens, she said, I want to give you something. She moved to a storage cabinet and removed a small device. It appears to be a simple data storage unit, but I've modified it. She handed it to Zendra. It contains 20 years of my research, atmospheric readings, energy signatures, patterns I've identified, and she hesitated my theories about interstellar communication. Zendra examined the device. It was crude by her standards, but the concept was sound. Why would you share this? Clara smiled. Because someone should know. I'm not crazy, she said. And because if humans are being evaluated for readiness, you should see what we're capable of figuring out on our own. She gestured to the device. Some of those communication theories might surprise your scientists. Zendra carefully placed the device in her bag. I will ensure. It is included in my report as they prepared to leave. Clara asked one more question. Can I see you? The real you. I mean, the request was unexpected and against protocol, but Zendra had already violated numerous regulations simply by allowing Clara to see the ship. And this human had helped her, potentially saving her mission. After a moment's hesitation, Zendra deactivated her holographic disguise, revealing her true form, the blue iridescent skin, large almond-shaped eyes, and slender frame of a Zolaxian. Clara didn't gasp or recoil. She simply observed with the same scientific curiosity she had shown throughout their interaction. Beautiful, she said. Finally, you look like the ocean and sky combined. Zendra reactivated her disguise. Thank you for your assistance, she said formally. I must return to Beth's dwelling to avoid causing concern. Clara nodded. Of course, but let's stay in touch while you're here. She wrote something on a small paper. The number for my personal communication device. Call anytime. And she smiled, particularly if your people respond to that signal. Zendra returned to Beth's house, finding the human asleep. She moved quietly to the spare room and considered the events of the day. She had successfully modified her emergency beacon with human help. The signal was now transmitting, potentially reaching any Zolaxian vessel that passed near Earth. But more significantly, she had made direct contact with humans, something strictly forbidden by protocol, yet the contact had been productive, educational. The humans she had met were not primitive in their thinking, even if their technology lagged behind galactic standards. They were innovative kind and remarkably adaptive. Beth had offered shelter without hesitation. Lisa was developing advanced communication concepts independently, and Clara had created monitoring equipment sophisticated enough to detect Zendra's landing. These observations contradicted significant portions of the official Zolaxian assessment of Earth civilization. The Galactic Council had classified humans as centuries away from readiness for contact, but what Zendra had seen suggested they might be closer to ready than anyone had realized. She removed Clara's data storage device and examined it more carefully. The human's research was impressive, particularly given the limited technology available. The theories on communication included concepts that approached Zolaxian understanding of quantum entanglement, something Earth science was not supposed to comprehend for at least another century. Zendra activated her personal log and began recording a new entry. Emergency landing on Earth has resulted in unexpected direct contact with human subjects. She stated formally, contact was necessitated by ship damage and need for communication repair. Initial assessment indicates significant discrepancies between official classification of human technological development and observed capabilities. 3 subjects have demonstrated innovation cooperation and comprehension that exceeds Category 3 parameters. She paused, considering her next words carefully. Recommend re-evaluation of Earth classification and contact timeline. Based on observed evidence, humans may be approaching Category 2 status more rapidly than previously calculated. The subjects encountered show capacity for accepting the existence of extraterrestrial life, without fear or hostility. Their assistance was freely given with minimal compensation, requested. She stopped the recording knowing her report would be controversial when received. Her observations directly contradicted centuries of established protocol regarding Earth, but she had seen firsthand what humans were capable of, their resourcefulness, their curiosity, their willingness to help a stranger. As she prepared for rest, Zendra wondered what other discoveries awaited her during her time on Earth, and what changes might come from her accidental first contact with this remarkable species. Here's Part 5. 3 days passed since Zendra had activated the enhanced emergency beacon. Each day she maintained her human disguise and continued to observe life in Riverdale. She stayed, with Beth, whose kindness remained constant, and visited Clara to monitor the signal strength. During daylight hours, she explored the town, gathering more data on human behavior and technology. On the morning of the 4th day, Zendra was having breakfast with Beth when her personal scanner detected an incoming transmission. The signal pattern was unmistakably Zolaxian. A ship had received her beacon and was responding. Zendra felt both relief and unexpected regret. Relief that rescue was imminent, but regret that her time among humans would soon end. Her experiences in Riverdale had been enlightening. The connections she had formed, particularly with Beth and Clara, were unlike anything in her previous research. "I need to go out today," Beth said, breaking into Zendra's thoughts. "Got a delivery coming to the diner, big supply order." She took a sip of coffee. "You're welcome to come along. Might be boring, though." "Thank you," Zendra replied. "But I have arrangements to meet Clara today. She has been assisting with my vehicle repairs." Beth nodded, her gaze lingering on Zendra. "You know," she said after a moment, "you've been a strange but good guest. Kind of mysterious, but nice to have someone around the house." She smiled. "Makes me miss Amy. Less my daughter, she," clarified, "been away at college 3 years now. But the house still feels empty." Without her, Zendra felt an unfamiliar emotion. Something her species rarely experienced with non-Zolaxians' connection. A sense of mutual understanding. "I appreciate your hospitality," she said. "It has been very informative." Beth laughed. "Informative? That's an odd way to put it, but you're welcome." She stood and cleared the dishes. "You know, you're welcome to stay longer if you need to, until your car is fixed or whatever. Thank you." Zendra said, "I may be leaving soon, however. My communication attempts have been successful." Beth looked surprised but pleased. "Well, that's good news, isn't it?" She picked up her bag for work. "You let me know if you need anything else before you go." After Beth left for work, Zendra examined the transmission more carefully. The message indicated a Zolaxian science vessel had detected her emergency beacon and would arrive in low Earth orbit within 12 hours. A retrieval team would be dispatched to her coordinates after dark. Zendra sent a confirmation signal, then contacted Clara. "I have received a response," she said when Clara answered. "My people have received the beacon signal. They will arrive tonight." There was a pause on the communication device. Then Clara's voice, "I'll be at my workshop. Come when you can." Zendra gathered her limited possessions and left Beth's house. She considered leaving a message but decided a personal conversation would be more appropriate. She would return before departing Earth at Clara's workshop. Zendra found the human surrounded by equipment monitoring the signal patterns. Clara looked up as she entered, her expression complex. "So they're coming," she said. "It's really happening." "Yes," Zendra confirmed. "A science vessel will reach Earth orbit tonight. A retrieval team will be sent to my location." Clara nodded slowly, processing this information. "Will the retrieval team, will they be visible to others?" "They will use stealth technology," Zendra explained. "Their presence should not be detected by Earth monitoring systems." Clara gestured to her equipment. "Unless someone has very specific monitoring equipment," she said with a small smile. Zendra acknowledged this with a nod. "Your equipment is unusually advanced." They worked together for several hours, adjusting the signal to provide clear coordinates for the retrieval team. As they worked, Clara asked questions about Zolaxian culture, technology, and society. Zendra answered what she could without violating major protocols. "You mentioned the Galactic Council has categories for civilizations, Clara said as they finalized the signal configurations. What are they exactly? Sandra considered how much to reveal. The general classification system is not highly restricted information category. 1 civilizations are unified worlds with faster-than-light technology and planet-wide governance. They are eligible for full council membership, and Category 2, technologically advanced species approaching unification, and faster-than-light capability. These worlds receive limited contact supervisory observation and occasional cultural exchange, and were Category 3. Clara stated yes. Zendra confirmed, pre-faster-than-light civilization, with significant planetary divisions. Limited technological development compared to council standards. Such worlds are typically observed from a distance with strict non-interference protocols. Clara adjusted a component on their communication device. You said I might be surprised when you report your observations. What did you mean? Zendra had been considering this question herself since her emergency landing. My observations here contradict some aspects of the official assessment of Earth civilization, she said. The technological innovation, the cooperative behaviors, the adaptability of individuals like yourself. These suggest human development may be accelerating beyond previous projections. Clara looked pleased. What does that mean for Earth? It could mean reevaluation, Zendra said carefully. Potentially, adjusted timelines for official contact. Though such decisions require extensive review by the Council, as evening approached, Zendra prepared to return to Beth's house to say goodbye. The retrieval team would arrive near her ship's location after midnight. She had already gathered the data she would present to her superiors, including Clara's research and her own observations. Before leaving Clara's workshop, Zendra hesitated. There is a protocol matter we must discuss, she said. Your knowledge of my presence. The ship. The Council has strict regulations regarding information containment. Clara's expression grew serious. Are you going to erase my memory? She asked. Or take me with you? Neither option sounds great. Frankly, the question presented a significant ethical dilemma. Standard protocol would indeed require memory modification for any humans with direct knowledge of Zolaxian presence. Yet Zendra found herself reluctant to implement this procedure. I am considering alternatives, she said. Your research is valuable. Your observations of atmospheric phenomena, including my landing, are scientifically significant. She paused. Perhaps there is a compromise. Clara raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. If you were to continue your research, document your findings, but without specific reference to me or my species. Zendra suggested maintain your scientific inquiry, but preserve the ambiguity regarding the source. This might satisfy both protocol requirements and scientific integrity. Clara considered this. You want me to keep studying but stay vague about what exactly I'm studying. Not claim direct contact, just keep monitoring for anomalies, yes. Zendra confirmed. The Council prohibition is primarily concerned with widespread knowledge that could destabilize Earth society. Individual scientific inquiry, especially when maintaining appropriate uncertainty, is less problematic. A compromise, then, Clara said, extending her hand. I continue my research. You don't wipe my brain. Zendra completed the handshake agreement, an acceptable arrangement. They finalized the coordinates for the retrieval team, Clara helping to ensure the signal remained strong and clear. As Zendra prepared to leave, Clara asked one final question. Will you come back? Will any of you? Zendra considered. This I cannot predict future mission assignments, she said. But your planet will continue to be observed, and she added, my report may influence future protocols regarding Earth. Clara smiled. Take care, Zendra. From another world, it was good to meet you. The sentiment was unexpected, but Zendra found she shared it. It has been instructive, she said, then recognizing the inadequacy of this response added, and meaningful. Zendra returned to Beth's house, finding her in the living area watching an entertainment program. Beth looked up and smiled. Hey there. How did the car repairs go? Zendra sat down beside her. I have received assistance. My transportation issues have been resolved. I will be departing tonight." Beth looked surprised so soon. She seemed genuinely disappointed. "Well, I'm glad you got things fixed, but sorry to see you go. I wanted to thank you properly," Zendra said. "Your hospitality was unexpected and significant." Beth waved this away. "It was nothing. Really just being neighborly." She paused, studying Zendra's face. "You know, I never asked where you're heading after this." "Very far," Zendra said truthfully. "I am returning to my people to report my observations." Beth nodded, probably assuming Zendra meant a research institution or university. "Well, safe travels," she said, "and you're welcome back any time. The spare room's yours if you ever pass through again." The offer touched Zendra in a way she had not anticipated during her years of studying Earth from a distance. "Thank you," she said. "I will remember that." They shared a final meal together, Beth telling stories about her daughter at college and life in Riverdale, Zendra listening with genuine interest. As the evening progressed, Zendra found herself recording mental notes about human social bonding and community structures, but also simply enjoying the conversation for its own sake. When it was time to leave, Zendra gathered her few possessions. Beth walked her to the door. "You sure you don't want to ride somewhere?" she asked. "It's pretty late. I have arrangements." "Thank you," Zendra said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. "I appreciate everything." Beth surprised her by ignoring the outstretched hand and instead embracing her briefly. "Take care of yourself out there," she said. Zendra walked through the quiet town, one last time recording final observations. The settlement appeared ordinary by human standards, but her experiences here had been anything but standard. The humans she had met had shown intelligence, compassion, and resourcefulness. Beyond what her training had prepared her for, she reached the cornfield where her ship waited. Clara was already there, monitoring equipment set up to record the retrieval. "Right on schedule," Clara said, looking up. "The sky's clear. My instruments are picking up something entering the atmosphere." Zendra activated her scanner. A Zolaxian vessel was indeed approaching, using stealth technology that would make it invisible to standard Earth detection systems. But Clara's modified equipment was registering the disturbances. "They're coming," she confirmed. They stood together in silence, watching the night sky. Soon a faint shimmer appeared above them, gradually taking form as the retrieval craft deactivated its cloaking shield. The vessel was small, designed for planetary landings with a sleek metallic surface similar to Zendra's ship. It landed silently beside her damaged vessel. A hatch opened, and two figures emerged. They were Zolaxians like Zendra, their true forms visible as they approached. "Researcher," Zendra once said in their native language. "We received your emergency signal. Are you injured?" "I am undamaged," Zendra responded. "My vessel experienced quantum drive failure, necessitating emergency landing." The retrieval team glanced at Clara, who was watching, with undisguised fascination. "This human has knowledge of our presence," Zendra explained. She assisted with the emergency beacon modifications. Her help was essential. The team members exchanged concerned looks. "Protocol violations will be addressed," the senior officer said. "But retrieval is our primary objective." They turned to examine Zendra's damaged ship. "A repair assessment will be conducted, but extraction is recommended." Zendra nodded, then turned to Clara. "I must go now," she said in English. "The retrieval team will evaluate my vessel and determine if repairs are possible." Clara nodded, her expression a mixture of excitement and sadness. "So, this is it. First contact. Well, not officially, I guess." She smiled, but still, pretty historic. Zendra considered her response. "Yes, it is significant, though limited in scope." Clara gestured to her monitoring equipment. "I'm recording everything," she said. "For my research, as we agreed." Zendra nodded. "I will include your assistance in my report to the Council. Your understanding of advanced concepts, your willingness to help, these are noteworthy." The retrieval team signaled to Zendra. It was time to depart. They had secured her vessel and prepared it for transport. She turned to Clara one final time. "Farewell," she said formally, extending her hand in the human gesture. Clara took her hand. "I hope your report makes them reconsider us," she said. "We're not perfect, but I think we're ready for more. Or at least ready to know we're not alone." Zendra boarded the retrieval vessel with the team. Her ship would be attached for transport, back to the Zalaxian science vessel in orbit. As the hatch closed, she watched Clara through the viewport. The human stood amid her equipment, recording the historic moment. Though she would never be able to share it publicly, the retrieval craft rose, silently into the night sky, activating its cloaking shield as it ascended. Soon they reached the larger vessel waiting in Earth orbit. As they docked, Zendra prepared for debriefing. She would need to explain her emergency landing, her contact with humans, and her assessment of Earth civilization. She organized her data, including Clara's research and her own observations of Beth Lisa and the other humans she had encountered. Her conclusions would be controversial, challenging centuries of established protocol regarding Earth. But she had evidence now, not distant observations but direct experience. Researcher Zendra, the science vessel captain, greeted her as she boarded. "Your emergency signal was unexpected. This sector was not scheduled for direct monitoring. I experienced drive failure during observational orbit." "Captain," she explained, "my report details the emergency landing and subsequent events." The captain nodded. "We will review your findings according to protocol," he said. "Your vessel will be examined for the malfunction cause. Standard debriefing protocols apply for unauthorized contact situations." As she followed procedure, Zendra thought about the humans she had met. Their kindness, their curiosity, their willingness to help a stranger from beyond their understanding. Their capacity to accept difference without fear. The connections she had formed in just a few days had changed her understanding of Earth civilization. Later, in her private quarters aboard the science vessel, Zendra completed her official report. She detailed the technical aspects of the emergency landing, the assistance she had received from humans, and her observations of their technological capabilities. And she included her most significant recommendation, based on direct interaction with multiple human subjects and assessment of current Earth technological development. "I formally request re-evaluation of Earth civilization, classification. Observed evidence suggests accelerated advancement toward Category 2 status. Recommend consideration for limited contact protocols within 50 Earth years, rather than the currently projected 200. She submitted the report knowing it would generate significant discussion among Zalaxian scientists, and eventually, the Galactic Council. But she was confident in her assessment. The humans of Earth were advancing rapidly, not just technologically, but in their capacity for cooperation, adaptation, and acceptance of the unknown. As the science vessel broke orbit preparing for the journey home, Zendra looked back at the blue planet. Her emergency landing had been unplanned, but the knowledge gained was invaluable. Earth would continue to be watched, but perhaps now with new understanding. And someday, perhaps sooner than anyone had expected, the watching would end and true contact would begin. And somewhere below, in a small town, a human named Clara was studying her recordings of the night sky. And in another house, Beth was sleeping, unaware that her guest had come from much farther away than she could imagine. Both humans had helped change the course of their planet's future, though they would never know. Zendra recorded one final personal note as Earth faded from view.